Welcome to the Mavericks podcast. Today, I'm joined by Terance again for a two-part series on finding a lifestyle of forgiveness. In this first part, we end up making incremental progress in the right direction after diving down many different rabbit holes in search for the answers. This conversation really helps to set the stage for more searching we will find in part two. I hope you guys enjoy. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. We're with Terance.
Yeah.
Terance, my boy. What's going on, dude?
Not much.
I got a lot of energy today.
You do.
I'm gonna bring it to you.
It's flipped. Normally, I feel like I'm the high school child on caffeine running around here, but today I think I'm a little more mellow than normal.
Yeah, you need to use that voice here. Speak up.
No, you didn't. Not he who whispers.
Not me.
Yes,
I would
you.
never. There we go.
Never again.
Never again.
Never again. I'm proud of
Never.
you. You've come a long way in the past couple of weeks.
It's only been a couple weeks, huh? Well, it's been like
Been a month.
3
and a
4
half.
months. I only met you a month ago.
Almost two.
Oh yeah, I met you before I moved, huh? Moved to Villages. I think so. Yeah, and then I came to you and I was like, they moved me. I actually don't remember.
And then you tripped down the stairs.
That was the first
Well, you
time.
didn't trip.
I just fell for you, dude.
You settled it.
Okay. So
Weirdo.
this episode, I want to try and tackle what a lifestyle of forgiveness is. And I was talking briefly with Terance about it. And come to find out, this is a lot harder of a topic than I thought it would be. So I've kind of decided that maybe we just talk it through and try and put the pieces together. We may not come to a conclusion by the end of the episode, but I feel like that might be a decent way to tackle it. I'll probably be writing on my computer as well. Excuse me, a couple notes as we piece things together.
I do some clicking of the keyboard myself. And if we have to part two it, we can always part two this thing.
Yeah, that's not a big deal. Let's get this ready. But so far, what we started out with, let's see. What's written down anyways is understanding why what happened emotionally. And I think that's what we tackled last time on the podcast, where we were separating ourselves from the situation, or emotionally from the situation, and then piecing it back together, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a little bit of a recap. I think as far as a lifestyle of forgiveness, and we were kind of going back and forth on this, is being able to do that in pretty much any situation that's coming to you, right? Or something that's going on in the moment. What we have written down is when Jesus was on the cross and he said, and I'm paraphrasing, but forgive them for they know not what they do. That tasted horrible. Anyways, Jesus is basically forgiving them as they're doing the wrong, and he's separating their souls from the acts that they're doing. So I guess what I want to try and do is figure out how to get to that point in life where even though people are doing you wrong or acting against you, doesn't necessarily mean you don't get angry or upset in the moment. Even Jesus got angry, but
He flipped tables.
yeah, he flipped the tables. But I want to get to the point where no matter what, quote unquote, you can find the place in your heart to let those things go and understand that the acts that they're doing, maybe there's an underlying reason and it doesn't necessarily affect. I'm wording that wrong. Yeah, really badly. Holy crap. Okay, it's been a minute. But I want to get to the point where we can do that, right? We as
Yeah.
people can forgive people as they're doing something bad or something wrong to you,
Yeah.
or at least in the way that you perceive it, right? And not holding on to those things so deeply. And of course, the really big thing is tackling the things of your past, which is what we talked about last time.
Yeah.
So we want to do that first because then you can kind of clean your slate and start fresh. Now, once you've dealt with all of those issues from the past, or at least the ones that you know of, then you can start moving forward because, of course, we all have things that do come creeping back. So tackling those as you go and as they reveal themselves to you, that's a big thing. So it's a never ending process, obviously.
It's a never-ending process, but it also puts us in a position to grow or show a little, I would say, empathy as you start going on your healing journey, your forgiveness journey. As you start to heal it, you start to see from a different perspective. Um,
The past, healing past traumas, you said?
Healing past traumas, but also learning how to deal with them from a now standpoint.
Okay.
Um, from a now standpoint, as like you said, what do you do? We look in the past, we see what happened, we're learning to forgive the offense. What else can we do within ourselves on the internal work um, to keep in mind that they're human, so we don't dehumanize them and we look at ourselves as the same human to help bridge that gap in easing or working through the tension of forgiveness.
Okay.
See what I'm
Um, no.
saying? Okay.
But I do, to be fair, I kind of zoned out. And I thought of something after that, but
What would you think?
uh, I was thinking about a point when I was younger and when things kind of started to switch in a different direction for me in a positive way. I started seeing moments of frustration and anger from other people coming at me, especially in the household that I lived in at the time. I started seeing a love for them in a different way rather than when people get frustrated at me, I get frustrated back. I would sit either afterwards, after that issue had happened, or after we'll say confrontation, but I mean, yelling. After I would sit by myself after that, or while it would happen, and I would just have a love for them as, in a sense of, I wanted to know why they hurt so much to the point where they had to take it out, right? Because I mean, we're frustrated, like whatever happened. I wanted to understand why those things happen. And when I made that switch, I came at other people's anger typically with a sense of love,
Yeah.
right? So I really deeply cared and I wanted to get to the bottom of it. And I think that's kind of when that forgiveness shift happened for me, where, as I was talking about before, I don't know if it was on camera or not, but where it just kind of became a thing where I honestly just never held on to anything from people. Like, not really anything people did bothered me. And when it would happen immediately, at first I voiced, like, I forgive you. But not to them, but in my mind, it's like, I don't hold on to that thing. And I do forget things easy. So, like, to a degree, I've gotten way better. But when it comes to the things that people do to me, I don't really hold on to it because in my mind, I'm processing things as you can do something to me, but I still have control over how I get to live my life. But
Yeah.
there's some quotes out there that's like 10% of what goes on is the outside world. The other 90% is you, like how you live your life.
Yeah.
So a big part of where you go in life is your mindset. So if you can change your mindset
Yeah.
and live a certain way, then that's really what comes to fruition. So I'm not going to say that I've had the hardest life or the easiest life, but I've had some troubles, and going through those, I've pretty much always had a positive mindset.
Yeah.
And the things that people have done to wrong me, like I've had my stuff thrown out and locked out of a place that I lived, and had to immediately go somewhere else and try and figure out if I could stay there or not. I didn't really feel any, there was tension at the time because obviously he was yelling and screaming, but I took a step back. I handled with what I could. I got as much stuff as I could in the moment out and into a new place as I could, and then tackled it from there. And even then, I never held any sort of negative emotions towards him. Like, and this is just in that specific example, but it's also in other examples throughout my life, right? Like marriage and things that I've even done to myself.
Yeah.
I just, I've always had the perspective of there's something that I can take from this. Let me take what I can from it and then move to the next thing instead of dwelling on it. It's very, very few times that I ever dwell on anything. And when I do catch myself dwelling on it, I remind myself why I'm here and what I'm trying to do. And then I try and take a different perspective on it to where it takes me out of the picture and sees the overall. And usually that helps. But I don't really know how to put that into words as far as forgiveness goes, like living that lifestyle.
So I can say for me, for just past experience with myself, dealt with similar situations, um, dealt with a family of communication issues. Um, but I'll say one thing, because I'll say for me, forgiveness hasn't, I don't say forgiveness hasn't been easy. Forgiveness has been difficult because the way my mind processes. So now being in a place of a mental health counselor, it's a lot easier. Previously, the way my mind breaks down situations, my mind for whatever reason chooses to want to learn at the same time that I'm trying to heal, which is what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But then I start breaking down every little thing, and of course, as you break things down, you're still thinking about the situation. So although you're not intentionally dwelling on it from a negative standpoint, you're still having to deal with the situation that you're trying to still work through and forgive.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I'll say that has helped me in the terms of forgiveness is understanding that, I'll say, building my relationship with God. I have to look at what's made forgiveness easier for me is looking at the fact that I've trespassed and sinned against God 1,001 times, and yet He still forgives me. Scripture tells us He forgives us as far as the east is from the west. When He forgives us, He remembers it no more. We've talked previous, I want to say the last conversation, where forgiveness with God is conditional. In order to be forgiven, you have to forgive. And that, I think, in the term of forgiveness, that is actively keeping me in consistent remembrance that I need to forgive, is that even as we sit here today, I'm imperfect and I'm flawed. So at any given time, I could say something or do something that's going to offend another person.
Mm-hmm.
May not be intentional. I've known that myself can be quite vexing to some people, especially in certain conversations. If I'm irritated, if I feel like I'm pushed into a corner, my mouth will start mouthing, and then I'll have to apologize about it later. But in the case of forgiveness, that's the thing, is realizing that it's like, as much as someone else has hurt me, I've hurt somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And since we can't measure the level of offense that others feel when we trespass or we come against them or we do something wrong to them,
In a way, like you mean we don't understand
how deeply what we might do affects them.
Okay,
Like where we
gotcha.
could say something like you and I joke all the time.
Hmm.
I could say something and to you it's like it's absolutely nothing. I could say the same thing to another person and it can hit them in a way because of a past experience. So where you and I joke and you might be like, okay, that was funny, but I might feel a little bit away about that.
Hmm.
Somebody else may feel like I just try to completely annihilate them emotionally.
Yeah.
So since we can't measure that, I keep in mind like, okay, I'm always going to be in a place of needing to be forgiven at some point because I'm human. But just from the place of for forgiveness, it's like, okay, let's in that mind frame, let's keep that in mind. Like I have to go to God daily for forgiveness. Like
Hmm.
I cuss somebody out on the way here in the car,
Oh goodness.
in traffic, and I didn't necessarily cuss him out, but he was stupid, and I was like, all right, God, let me apologize now.
How do you know he was stupid?
The way he was driving was stupid. He's not stupid. His actions were stupid.
Okay, okay. There we go. That's actually, I think that's a good. There, the person wasn't stupid. The actions they were doing is stupid. That could be
Mhm.
okay. Segue back into the topic. I interrupted you, but forgive them
Know
for
what
they
they
know
do?
not what they do.
Hmm.
It's kind of saying that the
Yeah.
actions they're doing weren't the best,
Yeah.
but they themselves as a soul
Yeah.
is a different story.
Yeah. Because he might not have been aware of the fact that you're crossing a yellow line coming into a.
Is this a traffic
It
scenario?
was a traffic scenario. Like I'm literally. You already know my car is like
Beat up?
she didn't been through some things in life. Okay, she's over 20 some years old. Um,
Older than me. Anyway.
so it's like, all right, we're going through some things. Her reaction time may be a little delayed. Don't cut me off. Don't cut me off in an intersection. Don't speed. Like we're all in the same traffic. We're all fighting the same construction. And like he just swooped over in between me and another car. And trying to get through our lane and then get to the other side or to the other lane. So I'm in the middle lane. He's in the far right. He's trying to get to the left. He cuts in between and almost hits somebody else. So has to jack back into our lane. And my first reaction was, "You stupid!" And like, and a few more words came out. Just keep it cute for podcast purposes. But I was like, dude, but he's not. I'm gonna say he's stupid because I'm big on the power of life and death within the tongue. So you could speak something over somebody's life. So he's not stupid, but his actions were stupid,
Hmm.
and we don't know the detriment. Once again, you don't know how what you're doing sometimes
Affects the things around you.
affects the things and the people around you.
Hmm.
And it can be completely innocent. Like to him, it's just like I need to get over. I might be trying to get to the hospital. For all we know, he could have a wife somewhere getting ready to push out his baby, and he's just trying to get to the hospital to be a good dad. But in the process, not paying attention to the surroundings, it could have caused a whole other issue.
Right. I'm writing this down. Okay. So
Uh-huh.
I just wrote down the actions, not the person. So if we theoretically,
Hmm.
okay, don't bash me, but because it's not a fully put together thought. Theoretically, should we be looking at the things people do as just the actions that the people do instead of the person, right? Like taking it to a deeper level. Now, of course, when people put a lot of care into something, that's a good thing, and you want to recognize that. And I guess you also want to recognize the negative things as well, and like address and approach,
Hmm.
right? And that's kind of a big thing that I do is when I do see something wrong, I go to the person and I'm like, hey, I noticed this. let's figure something out, right? And that's a big thing on the communication company that I'm building. And when someone does something to me that might frustrate me, once the situation's done, I kind of forget about it. So it's putting it down to, I'm not personalizing, I'm not taking what they do personally after the fact. In the moment, right, your ego might get the best of you. You might get frustrated, prideful for sure. But after the moment's over, having that lifestyle of forgiveness will say, I don't hold on to it. I address it if I need to address it in my mind. Once the situation is done, I think on it a little bit, of course, and see if there's anything that I can learn from it. Like, for instance, not last night, the night before, I made a comment to Chase that was just kind of off the top of my head, but I was also a little frustrated and didn't mean for it to affect him the way that it did, but he ended up taking it personally, and I haven't actually addressed it, but after the fact, I had never really thought anything of it. I was just it was like a small moment of venting, and he took it personally because of what I said and the way I said it. And I didn't necessarily mean it that way. I was just a little mildly frustrated, and then I needed to take the dog out. I was also tired, and I just wanted to get done with the day. So, in that sort of a sense, I thought about the situation afterwards and was kind of like, oh, I did kind of say it in a way that was probably not the best to say. Right. Anyways, short break. Um, Forgot what I was saying. But,
Chase, you had said something.
right.
You thought about it afterwards.
I was thinking about it, and I didn't mean for it to come off a certain way, but it did, and it was internalized, and things happened afterwards that weren't ideal. So, in that sort of a situation, I kind of did the wrong, but it was reciprocated. And afterwards, I didn't take it personal. I actually, when I came back in for letting Athena out, I really didn't feel any type of way. I saw what had happened, and I was like, well, I need to clean this up. And then, actually, I just let Athena pick it up, but the food. Anyways, I sat down afterwards and thought about it, and I really wasn't upset. I was like, okay, that happened. I don't remember if I was still needing to do something that night. I think I was. I was working on one more thing. I was like, okay, let's get this done. But I didn't even second guess it the entire rest of the night. Like, I was just like, okay, I need to work on this and then get it done. Like, my solution was deciding it wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, it really wasn't. I mean, yeah, something happened in response. And I should have communicated better. That is the takeoff of it.
Yeah.
Because I did just kind of let words flow out that I probably shouldn't have let out. And and it wasn't anything super bad. It was just the tone that I said it in, right? And that's a big thing. It's the tone that you use.
Sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Exactly. Well, most of the time.
Yeah.
And that's why I can joke all the time. But in this case, it wasn't a joke, and I was just a little frustrated, and my frustrations came out. And I've been driving a lot this week, and just got done driving, so a little off top, a little slight comment. Never hurt nobody.
So my question is, in that afterwards, did you forgive yourself for?
I don't. I don't feel guilty about things, typically, or shame. So,
Well, you don't necessarily have to feel guilt or shameful. Well,
like,
you could
well,
shame a little bit
in
but-
response to like forgiving
Yeah.
yourself. You're gonna feel shame or guilt about something because you're thinking about it over and over in your head.
Well, not necessarily that. Like sometimes you say something and you're like, okay, I could have. Did you have that moment where it was just like, okay, I could have said that differently?
Yeah, but that's not me not
Now,
forgiving myself. And that's what I said too. I was like, I could have said that a little better, or I could have just not said anything.
did you say that to him?
I did not say that to him, but that's a different topic that I need to address at some point. And I mean, I'm over it, but I haven't actually seen him.
I
So
said between you two,
yeah, no,
from a brother standpoint, address that together. But yeah,
I haven't seen him. So that's just next time I see him, that's gonna be the next thing. But anyways, not to get stuck on that. That's kind of my perspective on things. Like I don't really hold on to things. It's just it happens. I'm like, okay, what happened? What could have been done better? How can I learn from that? And then I move on. And that's kind of my lifestyle. Like I don't think of it as a thing as this guy did something to me and it personally affected me and I'm gonna sit on it.
yeah,
Right. And obviously that's a minor example of what I just went over. But that's kind of how I do everything. And sometimes it takes a little longer to get to that point than others. But eventually, I mean, I've practiced that muscle and it is a muscle. I've practiced that muscle enough to where I'm pretty efficient at it. Like at first, it might take me a few days to get over something, like when I was in the very, very beginning of my journey. But the more I've practiced it and the more I've repeated it and gone to God, gone to scripture, whatever I needed to do in that moment, throughout the years, I've gotten better and I've understood in a different way than I used to. It's a different perspective that I have now. And I just kind of address and forget. Well, not forget, like I learn my lesson and then I move on.
you move on.
Right.
And that's the, I think one of the things I've learned from a mental health counselor standpoint is forgiveness is something that has to be practiced that you have to get better
Mm-hmm.
at. But forgiveness is also an action, not a feeling. So there are going
Right.
to be, times I've experienced times where I've had to sit with God and was like, I'm struggling to forgive this person. And God was like, I asked you to feed them. Did you do it? Yeah. I asked you to help them. Did you help them? Yeah. So your actions show that you forgave them. Yeah. My feelings didn't catch up to that because I still had some unresolved issues
Mm-hmm.
within those circumstances. But God was like, your forgiveness is going to be determined on if you do for other people what I do for you, even when you come against me. So that forgiveness muscle being worked gets better as you continuously remember. Like it's not a feeling, it's an action. It's an action based thing that you have to every day decide to walk in forgiveness. So as you encounter, I would say, small traumas or situations or disagreements with people, it's something that you have to just continuously work at.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, in my experience, forgiveness is easier. I've gotten to a point where, depending on the level of offense,
Mm-hmm. Internally.
internal, depending on the level of offense, it's a lot easier sometimes to get past. And I've realized even in therapy, there are some things from a parental standpoint that I'm still learning to get over.
Mm-hmm.
Do I forgive them? Yes. Do I beat them up about it? No. Um, do we still have disagreements about things? What family doesn't? Um, but there are some interactions as a family that we have to heal together, even in communication, time spent, not spent, viewpoints, roles to play. Because I don't think that sometimes we don't. If I can say in my experience, I haven't realized until here recently, me not playing the role that I'm supposed to play in somebody's life can actually be offensive to them because I have a responsibility if I'm in that particular place. So even in that is learning like, okay, even between the brother sister role, the brother role, mother father, whatever that role may be, depending on people involved, there's there are frustrations that still may be there in that pocket, but your actions are going to determine whether or not you're actually walking in forgiveness. And I think that's something a lot of times we don't really think about is do my actions align with forgiveness, even toward the people?
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Like, do my actions line up with forgiveness? Do you mean like the things that you do, like how you approach different situations?
Yeah, how you approach different situations. Say, say hypothetically speaking, you did something that was an irritant to me.
Hmm.
Even if I still have a level of annoyance about it, will my actions show that I forgave you? Will I still be present for you the way that I'm supposed to from a friendship standpoint? Am I still going to be present for you from a child of God standpoint? Whether we bump heads today and not talk tomorrow, you're still part of the kingdom of God. So I still have a responsibility to you, even
Hmm.
though I'm frustrated at you, right?
So you're kind of talking like not holding grudges, like not holding on to
Not
something.
not holding grudges, not holding on to it, still dealing with the emotion and understanding sometimes there's still emotion, but still moving past it enough to make sure that you as an overall human are okay.
Right. So it's not
Yeah.
essentially not you're not changing your perspective about the other person in terms of how you approach them. Like if something,
Yeah.
we'll say from a past experience, someone did you wrong, and now every time you see them, you think a certain way about them, and that affects how you approach them and talk to them. So it's like making sure in the act of forgiveness that you're letting go of that, so that you're just
Yeah.
seeing them as a human and not someone who has done you wrong and personalizing it
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
internalizing it, I guess.
Internalizing. Yeah. Because a lot of times we'll, like even for me, my therapist had to tell me one day, you know, you can forgive a person and never deal with them again.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you have to
Yeah,
have them in your life.
yeah. And that was a hard one for me to understand for a while because it was like, well, if I forgive you, I can't just walk away from you. She was like, why? Like, she gave me an example. She was like, I was in a relationship and I got tired of that particular person hurting me. I stopped going. I forgave him. She was like, but I stopped being in a relationship with him. I'm like, that makes sense. She was like, you can forgive the offense and you can forgive the offender, but you don't have to let the offender back in.
Hmm.
And that was one thing in forgiveness that was a struggle for me at the beginning was like, how do I say I forgive you? But
Get rid of you.
then yeah,
Like you're not in my life
then you're
anymore.
just not in my life. And that's one that we also have to deal with because we feel guilty sometimes by telling people I can't I forgive you, but we ain't cool like that no
Hmm. You ain't my friend.
more. You ain't my friend. If
No.
you hungry, let me know, but I ain't inviting you to my house.
Interesting. Um, no, I mean a good perspective for sure. I mean, I didn't really think about forgiveness in that sort of a sense. Like, if I don't think you have a place in my life, I'm not going to go out of my way to make sure you're in it. But I'm not going to hold on to like any sort of anger against you.
Yeah,
I mean, past relationships, past issues with family. Like, yeah, you did something wrong, and I still care about you, and maybe I'll, in some cases, come visit sometimes, like with family.
yeah,
But I'm not going to have you at the center of my life because, let's be honest, your outlook on life is pretty negative, and I don't want that around me.
yeah,
So, yeah, I don't think necessarily, and I'm a big fan of keeping people in my life
yeah,
that do come along and that I do care about. So I'm always going to try and do that. But typically, I do communicate issues and try and address those things so that they are solved and so that it can move on. And maybe you're not always the center of my attention, but again, I got a mission to do. You know, I'm trying to build this stuff so I can help other people
yeah,
and change lives. So
yeah.
unfortunately,
You
if
gotta
we're
go.
not on the same page, then I can't spend all of my time around you.
Yeah,
It's just that way. But I'll take some time to be around you, you know, every now and
yeah,
then, and or reach out. Like I've been when I drive now, I just call people that I was close with from before when I left the place that I was at in the Panhandle.
mhm,
I mean, I haven't been there in 3 years. Um, I think now 3 years,
yeah,
and some of those guys I was really close with, and like family. And I've just been kind of calling them every now and then. That's what that call was earlier. when I stopped the recording.
Yeah.
So it's just they're unfortunately not in this season of my life, but I'm still gonna reach out and stay connected with them. You know, and I'm realizing that more and more now because I do like I enjoy having those connections with people. So when I get a chance, I can call a FaceTime, something like that, and that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to, but I want them to be a part of my life. So I'm just like, give me that. Yeah.
Oh, look at you.
So it's a
I'm at a, I don't know. I'm at a weird, I'm not gonna say a weird place, but a place now with God where it's just like, remove everything and everybody who's not healthy for me,
well, you can have people in your life, but it
including
doesn't mean they affect.
family. Like where my dad and I say where my dad and I's relationship is. I forgive him, love him, care for him, wish him and his wife the best, but I'm okay if I don't talk to him.
Yeah.
And like most people hear me say that and they're like, that's not nice. That's your dad. Honor your mother and father. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't have to honor somebody's bad behavior if God doesn't. Like,
Mm-hmm.
when you ever read in the Bible where God said he honors Satan's word, I'm not calling my dad Satan. But just
Clarification.
figuratively speaking, though.
The actions.
It's the actions and the habit. Like once I feel like once you try to extend an olive branch to let someone know, like, I want you in my life, like, I'm here for you, like, make me a part of your world, the same way that you treat the other children involved or stepchildren is the same way you need to do for yours you brought into this world. It's only so many times you can try to have that conversation. At some point in time, it's like, okay, live your best life.
Yeah, I mean, trying a certain amount of times, and eventually, I mean, if it's not reciprocated, you can't do anything
You
about it.
can't.
You
Yeah.
can do the best with what you can with what you have,
That. Yeah.
and extend a hand. I mean, I've tried to do the same with my dad in a sense. Not going to get too deep into that, but I have reached out to him and don't really understand that whole situation very well. So I'm not going to speak on it because I don't want to say something bad and
Yeah.
it not be true or communicated correctly.
Yeah.
But that is kind of like I'm only going to reach out so many times, and maybe I'll reach out in the future as well. But as of right now, it's draining energy instead of giving it, and
Yeah.
in that case, you just have to let it go for a little bit. Like they're living their lives, I need to live mine.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that's just kind of how that goes. Um, I guess a big part of this whole lifestyle of forgiveness for me anyways is I just decide that there's not a lot of problems that are really problems. Like something that happens, I can take it in and personalize it and then run it through my head and hold on to it and hold grudge. Or I can just be like, long term in the next 5 years, is this really going to affect me? And if it's not, then why is it a problem for me in the first place? Like, if it's not going to be in a place in my life in the next 5 years, 10 years, 2 years, or week, even, then it doesn't really need to be a problem. Like just, and I don't know how to really teach someone to do that, but I do know that if it's not going to be a problem in the future, then it's not really something that needs to be bothersome to me.
Yeah.
So I just let it go and I don't really hold on to it. And then if it's something that's, for instance, a person in my life that I do care about, that I plan on seeing or that I will be seeing consistently,
Yeah.
and there is just something that went wrong, then yeah, I need to address that because that problem, if not confronted, will grow because it's just going to be tension that just builds.
Yeah.
And whether or not from me or from the other person, it's going to keep building until eventually it breaks. And then that's where this healthy confrontation teachings that I'm doing comes really into play. And maybe that's why I don't hold on to things, is because I'm pretty good at confronting things and I've spoken on it before. But I just don't like, if you're going to be in my life and something happens that builds a little tension, I'm going to address it. And if what comes out of it is you don't care for me much anymore, then unfortunately that's just how it is. But I'm going to be truthful. I'm going to come to you and I'm going to address it. And we can go from there. but it really lets you just be clear-minded. Like, hey, you hurt me. The situation, I didn't really enjoy it very much, and you said something that I didn't really agree with, and we can go from there, right? And we can both speak truths, and maybe that is a big part of forgiveness, is just being truthful and confronting in an honest way and wanting to get to the bottom of things, right? Because in my perspective, the more I've chased the truth with other people or situations, the more clarity I have, the more understanding I have, and the better relationships I've had. And there's nothing that really goes missing because that communication's there. So I'm not really holding on to anything. And if I am holding on to something, then I speak it. So I voice it out into the world and to the person, ideally the person who was quote unquote the offender. So there's also been situations where I want to voice this thing to quote unquote the offender, and that person is no longer to be seen, right? So you can, this is another person, this is another side of the story. One side, you can address those people, and if you can do that, do it. And I mean, that's something that I will be speaking on in the future with healthy confrontation, like how you can effectively do that. But there's also another side where you don't have the opportunity to speak to the offender, and that's another perspective, right? Because we'll say, not to call out or anything for you, but just to put it in a better perspective in a story, like when someone cheats on you or something like that, like we talked about before, you don't really want to go speak to the offender, or they're not around, and every time you see them, you're upset.
Yeah.
So in that case, in those kind of situations, how can you let those things go and be content with not ever speaking to that person again? In that situation, it's more of, I believe we spoke on it last time when we were talking about forgiveness, but just understanding, and y'all tell me out here. But that's, so we have the perspective of, we can address it, we can confront it, okay? These other situations, I mean, I'm literally just speaking out my mouth right now, so it's like it's coming out as I'm saying it. So
It's coming out. That's why I'm listening, because I'm waiting for you
to click.
Yeah.
It's not clicking right now.
It's clicking. It's clicking. I've noticed, and it's not the same thing. You're looking for it to sound a particular way, or you want to use a particular set of words, but the words aren't necessarily coming the way that you want them to.
Yeah, it's floating around there somewhere.
So
But
it's there. The context is there. You get it. So I get you.
but in that sort of sense, turn your ringer off.
Oh, oh, oh. That was work. I'm sorry.
Are you good on time?
Yeah. Yeah, we're good on time.
In the sort of sense that you can address someone, then you have to kind of approach peace inside your own mind, because you're not gonna ever see that person again, quote. Like, we just look at the most extreme option, right? You're never gonna see that person again. They're never gonna be a part of your life.
Yeah.
But you have that emotion still tied to it. And in that situation, we go back to when we were talking about what is forgiveness. How can we separate the two? How can we separate the action from the person?
Well, separating the action from the person causes you to actually have to consider the person. So I'll say from my perspective, forgiving people that I won't see again. Like, I have fallen out with some people. Forgive them. Disagreements. Life happens. Get pulled in different directions. Not every relationship, I think, is meant to be a long-lasting relationship in your life. Some are there to teach you lessons, and then some people are there to be roots attached to your existence. And for me, it's one, understanding that they're human. Two, taking them in consideration of their past. When you know you're not going to see that person or speak to that person again, even though it takes a lot, what I can say has helped me is actually considering where this person was in their life when they created the offense because hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
Traumatize people, traumatize people. So is learning or finding that peace in the circumstance to say, okay, I see you, I met you, or I was in your life at a point in time where you were dealing with some things, and unfortunately, I was the outlet. Is it necessarily at first something that you want to have to sit with? Is like, okay, I pretty much became your punching bag, figuratively speaking. Um, no, because it's one of those things where you feel like you're starting to victim blame, right? However, it allows you to see that person through another lens of what's happening in your mental, spiritual, physical, and emotional body to where you felt like this offense was okay, and now we're not talking to each other again. It's learning to look at that person differently. Like I can get it for me when I look at the person and what I know they're going through, and then I look at them too from God's perspective of them, it makes it easier. Because just because somebody hurt me don't mean God loves them any less.
Right.
So looking at them from that lens of, okay, I'm gonna consider your hurt, your past, your traumas, but then I'm gonna consider God's viewpoint of you because God's viewpoint of another person is the same as He looks at me. I've been unfortunately victim to the sinful things of the world in the fall of humanity that has happened. So if God still looks and loves and cares enough about me to send his son to still provide for me when I am completely and utterly out of order.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I've been in moments of not wanting to be repentant, even when I've been in moments where I didn't want to acknowledge God, he still kept me. So thinking of it from that perspective gives me a softer heart toward people. Don't mean that I still don't be salty sometimes. Like, cause you gotta heal all that happens in that trauma, that situation, and all traumas attached. But it's looking at them from the viewpoint of God. Okay, God still loves you, so I can't hate
It's an interesting perspective.
you.
Something that was ringing in my head is another way that you can look at it. Like you're never going to see that person again. This is something that happened recently to me. I won't go into details of the story, but it was someone that I cared for a lot. And I was kind of in a situation of I'm doing, I'm really, really trying to reach out and help this person, but it's not working and they're not taking it in. And it hurt. Like internally, it hurt me. And I kind of was like, why is this not working? You know, like what it's not going on and clicking in my head that's not getting through to the person and letting me help them. And how I got over that, because I have not spoken or seen that person again since the incident,
Mm-hmm.
and how I kind of moved past it. And it's not necessarily something they did to me. I mean, I guess lack of communication, but it was more of I did everything that I could. I
Mm-hmm.
was very, very open. I was loving, and I was caring as much as I could, even in the times that I really, really didn't want to, and I had to fight myself to.
Yeah.
And I went out of my way, and I did what I could, right? So in this instance, I did what I felt like I could do to the best of my ability, and it's still nothing came from it. So
Mm-hmm.
at that point, I'm like, okay, I did what I could, and that's the best I could have done. And then just move on. Like I have to accept that unfortunately anything that comes out of it now is not can't be for me. Right.
Yeah.
I did what I could. I addressed the situation. I tried to help and I tried to help make it better. And nothing came out of it. I had to accept that I did what I could and I need to move on. Because nothing else, I mean, it would have been wasted energy at that point, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of, you could kind of take that perspective on these things as well. If you're never going to see anyone again or see a specific person again, have you done all that you could have done? And in that situation, like if you get cheated on or something, it's the actions of the other person that made that happen, not necessarily the actions of you, because they made the decision. Now, maybe you weren't the best person to be around, but again,
Yeah.
lack of communication is what would have led further. So if you weren't doing and fulfilling a specific part of your duties, then that was their excuse for saying like, well, you weren't doing this, so I just went and did this. It's lack of communication. So that can be addressed, but in the sense of the deed's already done, you're never going to talk to them again. If you look at it, take it in, understand what happened, and are like, I did what I could, and that's kind of where you have to leave it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, in life, we do have moments like that where it's like I've talked it out, I've acted it out, I've sent you text messages, emails, smoke signals.
Smoke signals is
Smoke
crazy.
signals at this point, like if you're not gonna do your part, there's not much that you can do but forgive the person involved. Um, and then just do the internal work on yourself. Like, okay,
What can I do better?
what can I do better? How can I move differently? Um, Looking for red signs, like red flags. One of my biggest beliefs, and a lot of people bump heads with me on this, is we always see red flags. We just don't choose to pay
Acknowledge.
attention to them and acknowledge them until someone has crossed the finish line of our boundaries. Then it's like, okay, now that you've crossed my boundary, now that you've pushed me in a corner, then I feel like I have to fight to get out of it. Now I'm gonna say something. But we see them all the time, so it's where were the red flags that I could have addressed, and then assessing if the time ever comes in life, am I willing to open back up to let you back in? Because sometimes friendships, relationships, situations, that person is good for you. They're just not good for you at that moment. Like sometimes there's growth that has to happen on one or both ends, or sometimes you're different places. You see, you have a similar perspective and outlook on life, but maturity just may not be there. That's the word I'm looking for. So if time comes, will I be willing to open up to you again? I look at it in the sense of like some business relationships. People go in business together and it doesn't work out the first time. And then they try again and then it does better, but not the same. And then they take some time apart, they get educated, they learn, they come back together, and business booms or friendship booms. Relationships, you see that with men and women date. We dated in high school and they broke up. Dated in college. And then you look at them at 36 years old, 10 years later, it's like, yeah, we met, we started talking, and now we're married. It's just depending. So having that open heart of, okay, I look at it as like letting God have control. All right, God, if this relationship is meant for me, I'll leave my heart open to the possibilities. You allow this person back in if they need to be here.
Yeah, since you can't control it.
Since you can't control it.
Makes sense.
Because it takes the weight off of you.
Right.
It puts the weight on, for
Especially if you've
me,
been trying.
the Heavenly Father. You're trying, you're doing the best you can. So at that point in time, God has the final say.
It's understandable. Yeah, I get that. Um, I kind of, I don't really know how to finalize and say like what is the lifestyle of forgiveness. The best I can really come up with right now, and it'll probably have to be readdressed later, is honestly from what we've been talking about, it's just having a mindset of growth. Because growth and outside perspective, maybe, I'm not sure. I don't necessarily agree with that wording, but growth for sure. Because everything we've been talking about is we're not internalizing the situation, and so in a sense of like we're not personalizing it to us.
Yeah.
We're understanding the perspective and going outside of ourselves, which is why I said an outside perspective. We're going
Mm-hmm.
outside of ourselves to try and understand the situation and then move past it. And then we're also learning from those situations. So it's a growth mindset. And we're kind of learning, should we keep trying to reach out? Or should we move on? Like, is it enough that we've tried this far? Is it just draining to keep going? Or is it worth the actions to keep going? Or should I just move and go a different way?
Yeah.
And so I would kind of say you're growing. We have to grow. And we need to take an outside perspective. So we can maybe think about Jesus on the cross. They were doing those actions to him, but he wasn't internalizing it. He was looking on the outside and he was seeing their souls and understanding that they don't know what they're doing. Like, they don't know who they're acting against, what they're doing. I mean, obviously I wasn't there, so I can't speak for the whole situation. But in a sense, that's what we're kind of getting at, is Jesus didn't internalize it in this sort of a sense. He was looking at it on an outside perspective as a whole, and we could say in this situation a godly perspective. So he saw all the sides, right, theoretically, and understood from a deeper perspective than most people, or that to a degree of most people. And he was right. They didn't know what they were doing, and in a sense, and maybe they felt like they did, but then again, that's pride. If you feel like you know what you're doing, but then in reality you don't, and that's a really internal perspective. So we look on the outside, an outside perspective on the situation, and stop internalizing it. And then there's also another thing where studies are showing that negative emotion is directly correlated with thinking about yourself. So we can take that kind of a thing, and this is something I say often, is when we take an outside perspective, we're not internalizing, we're not thinking about ourselves, we're thinking about the situation, we're taking ourselves out of the situation. And then from that point of view, that's less negative emotion because it's less of us talking about ourselves, thinking about ourselves. So we could also look at it that way as well. I agree with that as far as like what I've been saying. It doesn't necessarily satisfy me though.
What about it doesn't satisfy me?
I don't feel like it's clicked.
You don't feel like you've met that,
Yeah.
like that connection, that spark in the connection per se, like that aha.
Yeah, exactly. That hasn't hit yet. And I don't know why. But
Maybe it's
it's a
just
pretty solid perspective, I would say.
solid perspective. Maybe there's some room there for like deeper thought that
Uh-huh.
you just haven't had a chance to just sit with yet.
Let's put it this way. Part two. We'll do a part two on this. Or do you have anything you want to say?
Um,
Like, what are you thinking about this?
as far as a lifestyle of forgiveness,
Mm-hmm.
my thoughts is the perspective of it, because it's forgiveness should be so simple. Like if we think about it, it should be simple. But when we break down the different layers, the mental layers, the emotional layers, the physical, it's it's a lot to unpack. It's a
Like the
lot to
concept.
unpack. Like the not necessarily the concept. I guess for me, just to process it. So from the standpoint that I sit in, I see the intricate, like the smaller details.
Mm-hmm.
So I get ready to like start picking stuff apart a lot of times, because it's a forgiveness. Forgiveness, if you allow it, will open up so much room for healing and growth in your life that you will start to recognize that even you yourself are a completely different person in the forgiving process, and how much we grow in that process. So it's got to be a level two, because I need to be able to sit more with it. maybe for me, I need to sit more like scripturally with it
Mm-hmm.
because that's where I get a lot more clarity. Because you've made some very great points, some very, very great points over the past two conversations. We've talked about a lot, but in the form of like lifestyle of forgiveness. It's the actions that I can't like. It's the actions of forgiveness and what that actually looks like. That my mind is still trailing down that path.
Yeah, it's not really clicking for me.
Yeah, like I
So,
get it from a contextual standpoint, but
right,
like,
like
what does
if
that?
you
What does it look like to actively like to walk in that forgiveness? What is the processes? What do you?
kind of like
What are
step
some
by
things
step.
you have to do? Like, is it going to be prayer for you, fasting, prayer and fasting? Is it going to be therapy? Like, what does it look like? Is it?
Now, another thing is I do know that gratitude, practicing gratitude, definitely helps because it does keep you from internalizing, and it kind of it takes your focus off of it. So you're not focused on the situation, but you're focusing on something to be grateful for.
Yeah.
So I do think that that's also another way that it can be tackled. And if you just live a life full of gratitude, it's really hard to hold on to things
Hmm.
in a negative way, obviously, because then you're focusing on so many positive things that it's really hard for the negative things to get through.
Hmm.
So I would say that as well is the more grateful I've become and the more I've practiced gratitude, the less of a internal perspective that I've had where I think of things negatively or if someone does something to me, I hold on to it. Like I don't really do that. I practice gratitude every morning and sometimes multiple times throughout the day now,
Yeah.
especially when I'm tired and I'm like, I need a little bit of help getting through the day, you know. So a lot of just practicing gratitude is a really big thing for me as well. And that pushes the needle forward for me.
Yeah. I feel that. For I would agree. For me, it's gratitude, but I have to more just for how I process go more internal and look at everything that I've done in my relationship with God and the relationship I'm building with Him. That makes it easier for me to forgive people in that way.
Hold on, say that again.
So, where you focus on more of like being grateful, practicing gratitude, which are things that I do as well. But I have to go back. For me, it's sitting with my journal and building my relationship with God. That's what more so helps me forgive people.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense of, I would say I've taken my faith journey more seriously over the past 3 years than I ever had before. So now I'm being more intentional on building my relationship with God and realizing that that relationship is a covenant. A covenant by biblical definition is a marriage. So how many times in my relationship with God have I failed him? And then I look at the things, not in a negative way of like, oh, I'm just a big mess up. I let that go a long time ago. I have more moments where I'm like, God, I know I'm about to mess this one up. So you just you gonna have to work with me, convict me by the Holy Spirit. We gonna have to work together. But it's more of the focusing on how I've let God down, even in disobedience, not moving as quickly as I'm supposed to. When He asks me to do something, and I know it's clearly gonna help my business and brand, which is more kingdom focused, bringing people into more knowledge of God, helping people heal more on the soul level than just in the physical. Moments where I've procrastinated, like all of those things, I look at as things that can kill any relationship. So it helps me just by focusing on that with him, on how I've let him down or how I'm not living up to what I'm supposed to and checking myself in that balance, in that process, makes it easier for me to forgive other people.
Hold on, say that again. That specific part. Say that again.
Me focusing in on how I'm not living up to my relationship. with God helps me forgive other people in that way because I'm looking at how God has done nothing to me, but yet I am outwardly coming against him in one way or another in our relationship. So the fact that I can actually look and take account and be like, okay, I'm not perfect here. I'm not perfect here. I got to get this together. I need to pray more. That's communication.
Mhm.
I need to help other people more. That's helping the body of Christ. That's helping God's other children. Things that I could be doing better on those fronts. And then just taking accountability for the fact that, like, no, I'm not doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. And he forgives me every day. It just kind of gives me that soft spot for other people. It's not always easy to find that soft spot or even live in that soft spot for other people, for me. But it's that accountability and looking inward at, like, okay, what could I be doing better
Mhm.
before I try to drag somebody else?
Okay, I have one more thought.
What's that?
I think I kind of know what it is. All right, I kind of like not solid, but I have like a something in there.
Part three?
It's
Well, this would be part two, technically.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not splitting it up. This is just gonna be one thing.
Okay.
I didn't what if when whatever. Anyways, um, um, understanding.
In what way?
When you understand a situation,
Mm-hmm.
you rest easy. Essentially, like
Hypothetically.
yeah.
Yeah.
What is a lifestyle of forgiveness? What I've noticed, and this is every perspective that we talked over so far, when we come to a point of understanding in some way or another, it leaves, right? Because when you understand something, then your mind's not, it's the end point. So if you get to a point of understanding, it ends it. And then you're moving on to the next one, whether it's happens fast, happens over days, happens over months. When you eventually hit that point of forgiving someone,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the sense like we were talking last episode, it leaves permanently. Like you take that in terms of what is forgiveness, uh, you take that outside perspective and you figure everything out. You put the pieces together, and then you come to a point of understanding, which is the changing of the story. You understand it, and then it's gone. So what I would say is, what is a lifestyle of forgiveness? It's taking a point of curiosity about the situation and coming to a standpoint. I don't know if I want to say standpoint. Coming to an understanding with the situation, and as soon as you come to an understanding with the situation, it kind of leaves, right? You understand what it is, and you've come to a conclusion on it. Whether it's in the different perspectives we talked about today, whether it's deciding that you've done enough, that's an endpoint, right? I've done enough. I've done what I could do. Whether it's someone did you wrong, and you're taking an outside perspective, and you're going through it, and you're finally like, I did what I could. Okay, you understood. You got to an end point. Now it's gone, right? Essentially. Or what was another one that we talked on? We could say in the point of the cross, Jesus came to the conclusion they don't know what they're doing. That's a conclusion. That's an end point. It's done. It's an understanding. In the point of me and Chase, the situation happened. I came to an understanding very, very quickly, as of I could have not said that as harshly as I did, or in the tone of voice that I did, and that would have solved the issue. I came to a point of understanding, I came to a conclusion, and it left, right? And in that sort of a sense, it was very quick. So it happened, and I was like, oh, this happened. Why did that happen? Because I did this. Boom, understanding. As soon as you understand it, it's an endpoint in your brain and it goes away. So we can say, what is a lifestyle of forgiveness? It's a lifestyle of understanding and pursuing understanding. Like you're having enough curiosity in yourself to pursue something until you understand it in one way or another. And that's why it wasn't clicking really well, because there were so many different perspectives that we were ending on. And what do they all have in common? We all come, we, they, all those situations come to a conclusion, and that conclusion is understanding. In some sort of a way, it clicks in your mind and you understand it. And once you understand it, it's like that little connection, that light bulb that I've been looking for this entire conversation is understanding, and it clicks.
So then go back to Proverbs 4:7.
Yeah, pull it up on your phone.
You were the one that was supposed to be studying it, bro.
Maybe it was a
I
good
still
thing that I
feel it
told you
for
to
you.
write. Maybe it's a good thing that I wrote down.
It is.
Do it in a.
So if I do it out of KJV for Proverbs 4:7, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding.
Boom! That's clicked in there. It's clicked in. Understanding and wisdom.
Yeah. It emphasizes the supreme importance of wisdom and the necessity of pursuing understanding alongside it.
Dude, that's what we talked about. Oh my goodness.
So that's why when you brought it up at the beginning, I was like, you were like, why did I write Proverbs 4:7? And I was like, 'cause that's what we talked about.
Well, no, it's because you said that understanding, and I was like, I like that. It wasn't even related to it. That's crazy though, because I wrote that down a while back. I feel satisfied to a degree.
I feel satisfied, but I still feel like there's something missing, if I can be honest.
No, I do too, but I don't know what
Don't know
it
what
is.
it is.
Understanding. I think maybe we should face this way. I think that for context, I wasn't looking at the camera. Anyways, I think we tackled that in the next episode or a future episode.
Understand?
What we didn't conclude, because I don't feel like we satisfied it enough in this one.
Neither do I. I feel like for the overall context, we did. I just feel like it's something like
Yeah, there's something very, very small missing, I think.
yeah.
But I believe
But it just could be because we tend to be perfectionists at everything, so we just feel like
I mean, it could be, but I think we can address it in another episode. I think this topic is deep enough that we probably won't tackle it in one episode,
yeah,
like we did with what is forgiveness,
yeah.
because this is more of a lifestyle thing and a lifestyle change, and it's a change that happens in our lives. So I think we can end it with saying, yes, we do need to understand and come to that conclusion, but there's still a little bit more to the story. So with that being said, we will address this in another episode. And yeah,
Once we find out what we have to address.
pretty much. Because that's something that I need to sit on for a little bit, because that's interesting. I don't typically come out of conversations not satisfied. But we will address this in another one and see if we can get to the bottom of it. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, guys. We're going to end it there. Unfortunately, we didn't figure it all out. But, of course, we're human, so it's going to take a minute.
Yeah. And any
And
feedback you might have, give it to us.
yeah, and if there's something we're missing, which probably is, just I'm sure there's some way that you can get in touch with us and let us know. But we will address it in another one. With that being said, thank you guys for listening, and we will catch you in the next one.